In this video, we're going to take a look at using Spring profiles. Profiles are a way that you can control what beans are wired into the context and which ones are not. So here, you can see here I have a I18N controller test. So I18N is a common abbreviation in the Java community and probably elsewhere to abbreviate internationalization. So here I have a controller, and my goal here is to set things up that this will say a greeting either in English or Spanish, depending on which profile is active. So I'm going to set up a profile to control what service is wired in. So if I come up here to the controller, you can see here my controller. This is going to take in a greeting service. All I've done is added the controller and two services. An English service says hello world-en and Hola Mundo, and I'm sure I'm butchering that because my Spanish is awful. So these services have been configured, but I have not done any configuration of Spring. I just set things up. I don't think we need to see me type another service. So the first thing I want to do is come up here, and I'm going to annotate this as a service. So that'll bring that into the Spring context. And here, I also want to annotate this as a service. Now, I want to be able to get one of these services in, so I'm going to name this I18N. I'm just calling it an I18N service. And I'm actually going to do the same on both of them. And here, let's do this, make this final. So we'll set up the constructor for that, and we'll use a qualifier to wire in one that's been set up with I18 service. So I don't need both braces. So what's going to happen now if I run this, if I run a test, let's make this a Spring Boot test. And we're going to have Spring to auto-wire that in. So it's going to auto-wire an instance of the controller. Now when I run this, what's going to happen, you should be able to guess at this point, I've got two services that qualify, and we will get an exception saying that we failed to load context. Let me resize this a little bit. So we have Spanish greeting service. So we're getting a conflict there. Trying to see something that makes sense. Annotation specified I18 service for bean class. Conflicts with existing non-compatible bean definition of same name and class. So English greeting service. So it's upset that we're wiring in two beans and naming them the same. So that is what the Spring context is complaining about, which is true because both services are being wired in. And the purpose of this video is to show you how to utilize Spring profiles. So here's our English service. What we can do is come up here, annotate this with profile, and I'm just going to call that EN, and do the same here. So now that specifies these in a profile, EN or ES, depending on which one is that. Now for the test, what we can do here is we can come in and say active profiles. So don't use the profile annotation, you want to use active profiles. And active profiles is for the test itself. And this is a testing annotation. And we're going to say EN. And let's go ahead and run this now, make sure that that actually runs. So let's see here, hello world EN, so that is our expected result. And let's take a look at the Spanish test. So we have Spring Boot test. And here we need to set the active profile to ES. So now when we set it to ES, what's going to happen, let me minimize this window here. What's going to happen with ES, it will see the Spanish greeting service because we set the profile of ES on it. In the English greeting service, because it's in a different profile that is not active, this will be completely ignored by the context. So now when we run the ES, we should get the Spanish. So, Hola Mundo. So now that works. So just to recap what we changed here, we have a controller with a greeting service. We're putting a qualifier on that of I-18N service. And we have two services that have been designated as that name. And what we're using is a Spring profile. So the active profile of EN or ES. So as long as one or the other is active, this will perform as expected. So when you have the profile EN active, this one will get wired in. ES, this one will get wired in. So the Spring profiles is very, very powerful, a very powerful and very handy way to bring in features, activate features, change features within your Spring application. And we will be seeing profiles used a lot throughout the course.